I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Vietnam Veterans News Podcast. News of interest about Vietnam veterans from a Vietnam veteran. Now, here's your host, Mac Payne.
This is Mac Payne here with episode 1843 of the Vietnam Veteran News Podcast. News about the Vietnam War and the brave veterans who served there, as told to you by yours truly, a Vietnam veteran. In this episode, I'm going to tell you about another prominent member of the aviation package that served in Vietnam, that has survived and continues to serve the military of this great country. That particular survivor is none other than the CH-47 Chinook helicopter. That was a big one with two rotors on it. Seemed to be everywhere, delivering big loads for us. Fortunately, it's going to stay with us. Unlike the M113s that we talked about in episode 1839er, who has come to the end of the road of Army service. They're being replaced by a new armored personnel vehicle with 5 different variants. Some of them are like mobile operating rooms running around the battlefield. The M113 has been put out to pasture. The only place you'll see one in the future is either in museums or maybe in front of a VFW hall somewhere. But not so for the CH-47 Chinooks. These aircraft have been upgraded and they are now a super tough aircraft. There was a story about the new improved Chinook helicopter on the Popular Mechanics website titled, "Here's the New Heavy Lift Helicopter for U.S. Commandos." This story was submitted by Kyle Mizukami. He did a great job describing the upgrades for this helicopter and what it is being used for today. That's why I'm going to share it with you. That's why I'm going to share it with you in my continuing effort to help stamp out ignorance. And Kyle's story does a very good job of stamping it out when it comes to the new Chinook helicopter. They don't even call it a Chinook anymore. They call it a Block II helicopter, which is a very appropriate name for this monster aircraft. Let's take a look at what Kyle has to say about it. Dateline, Popular Mechanics website. U.S. Operations Command has accepted the first of 24 new MH-47G Block II heavy lift helicopters. The MH-47G Block II is a heavily modified CH-47 Chinook helicopter whose basic design dates back to the Vietnam War. Notice how a lot of these younger writers today refer to the Vietnam War like it was ancient history. Well, there are lots of Vietnam veterans out there who would disagree with that viewpoint because we can remember it quite well, and it seems like it was happening just yesterday. Continuing. The Block II will be flown by the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment Airborne, the Special Operations Aviation branch of the U.S. Army. Now here's some ignorance that's being stamped out. I didn't even know the Army had a Special Operations Aviation branch. Now I do. Continuing. Boeing, the manufacturer of the MH-47G Block II, delivered the first helicopter to the Army Special Operations Command on September the 1st, 2020. Boeing will produce 24 more choppers for a total potential cost of $602 million U.S., which works out to be about $25 million per aircraft. That means those pilots had better be very careful because these aircraft are very expensive. Continuing. The Block II will replace older MH-47E helicopters in Army service. The MH-47 is flown exclusively by the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, part of Army Special Operations Command from Fort Campbell in Kentucky, Hunter Army Airfield in Georgia, and Fort Lewis, Washington. The MH-47G is a large transport helicopter typically used on special operations raids. It is capable of a cruise speed of 120 knots, a dash speed of 170, and can carry up to 36 troops. A large, twin-bladed helicopter, it has the ability to pack 24 or more commandos, carry away large numbers of prisoners and items of intelligence value, and transport support weapons, light vehicles, and field artillery. Speaking of the blades on this upgraded helicopter, you are invited to go over to the podcast website, VietnamVeteranNews.com. Check out episode 1843, and there you will see a picture of this Block II helicopter with those monster blades on it. It looks like something out of Star Wars. Continuing. A typical raid mission could see an MH-47 carry an assault, security, or quick reaction force consisting of Delta Force operators, Navy SEALs, U.S. Army Rangers, and Air Force Special Tactics Squadron airmen. They don't discriminate. They take them all. Boeing has heavily modified the helicopter for the rigors of special operations service. The most obvious example is the mid-air refueling probe extending from the helicopter's nose, which gives it, theoretically, unlimited range. Again, go over to the podcast website, VietnamVeteranNews.com. You'll see that refueling probe, which is a strange sight to see on any Army helicopter. The MH-47G also includes advanced digital avionics, a rescue hoist, a multi-mode radar for flying low to the ground at night and bad weather, electronic countermeasures to fend off those pesky little heat-seeking missiles. I am compelled to insert a little editorial comment at this point. Every day, I thank the good Lord above that when I was flying over there in Vietnam, I did not have to worry about any of those pesky little heat-seeking missiles trying to blow my tail boom off. They came later. Now, moving on to the final feature of this Super Chinook helicopter. And the fast rope insertion extraction system, known as FRIES, for quick insertion and extraction of troops and equipment. The helicopter is also equipped with two M134 7.62mm miniguns for self-defense and a single M60 medium machine gun. You wonder why they need an M60 on there when they've got two M134 miniguns. Looks like they could just put another minigun on there and that would be more than sufficient. Continuing. New to the Block II is an improved drivetrain that increases torque by 9%, improved fuel tanks that carry more fuel, a strengthened fuselage to handle heavier loads, and new improved rotor blades. Combined, these features allow the Block II to carry more troops and equipment than previous models for a total carry capacity of 22,000 pounds. I must say, those are some very impressive improvements they've loaded on the old Chinook helicopter. The MH-47 series has a long history with the 160th SOAR. The helicopters were first acquired in the 1980s. In 1988, the regiment used two D-model helicopters to fly 500 miles at night in order to snatch a Soviet-made Mi-24 Hind helicopter. The helicopter, abandoned by Libyan forces in an aircraft hangar in Chad, was prized by U.S. intelligence as an example of Soviet attack helicopter technology. The heavily modified Chinooks have also played important roles in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, particularly in the execution of raids. In 2011, MH-4Gs were used in the raid on Osama bin Laden's compound in Pakistan. 4G models were used in the raid. Two accompanied the main raiding force all the way to Abbottabad, Pakistan, while two others landed just inside Pakistan, loaded with a quick reaction force of SEALs and bladders of extra aviation fuel. I think just about every Vietnam veteran hearing this would be very happy with what Boeing has done with the good old reliable CH-47 Chinook helicopter from the Vietnam War. Based on all those improvements they made to it, I think it can be referred to as a big bad dude. Speaking, I believe, on behalf of all Vietnam veterans, I am very happy with what they've done with the old Chinook helicopter. And I am happy that it is not being put out to pasture, but rather upgraded and continuing to serve our military. I appreciate it, and I hope it serves well. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. This is Mac Payne closing out episode 1843 of the Vietnam Veteran News Podcast. Again, thank you so much for coming to listen to these programs. You are cordially invited to return again soon and often to listen to more that will be coming your way on this podcast. The Vietnam Veteran News.
If you like what you hear, then go tell somebody. If you like what you hear, then go tell somebody. Oh, Lord, go tell somebody. Yeah, go tell someone.
How about that? Ain't that a mess?